Welcome to the Community Leader Podcast, where we talk with successful real estate agents from around the country. Plus, we have discussions with servant leaders who have a vision bigger than themselves and how they help their community. Now, buckle up. We launch in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Agent Community Leaders Podcast, where we talk with people around the country who are in our industry, who are making a difference. They believe in servant leadership. And I am here with Rhyan Finch from First Class Real Estate. Ryan, welcome. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, man. What's your title over there at First Class?
I'm the CEO.
So you're the man. You the decision maker, the vision guy, everything.
It's funny, that's kind of what everybody would maybe think, but really, ultimately there's a lot of key players and key people that without them, I wouldn't even know what's going on or how to tie my shoes, so they keep everything in line.
I know exactly what you're talking about, right? People are like, "Hey, did you see this or did you see that?" And I'm like, "No, I got an operations manager I only find out about the problems, right? The major problems that can't be solved along the way. They let me to my devices to have conversations with people like you. You have been in the business since 2006, right?
Yeah, I have.
And First Class got going, right in the flat market, 2013, right? We got those are the Badlands, the flat years. And you have grown greatly. How many agents do you guys have now, roughly?
We're just topping over 1,100 right now.
1,100 agents across about 20 states.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's pretty awesome. And you shared with me as we were getting going what your mantra is there. And I like it. I like it a lot. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so we're changing lives, selling a few homes along the way. Our selling real estate is not our main focus. I mean, it's important. People need it to be able to pay the bills and do things like that. But, our office culture and our company culture it's much more about that. We want to make a profit. It's important our franchisees and our agents make a profit, because without it, you can't give back. If you can't take care of yourself, then it's hard to go give above. And so we focus on running lean, running profitable, and then focusing on that on more than ourselves, so it gives people purpose. It gives people, a reason for operating and doing what they do, and really, brings joy and happiness, because they almost find more joy in the things that they do. And we really run that from the top. I mean, we have a plethora of things that we do locally and even roll out nationally that people, can or do take part in.
Yep, I understand that completely. And I loved everything that you had just said. When we make things, and listen, legendary Zig taught us, right? Zig Ziglar taught us that if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. I mean, it's universal law. And I gravitate towards people like you who have this philosophy, because I have a similar philosophy. And I often tell people that Explore My, people are like, well, what's Explore My Town? And I'm like, well, what Explore My Town is and what it does is two very different things, right? What we are is a philosophy, a methodology, right? And it seems like you guys kind of have that same thing. What we do is we edit videos. What you do is you sell houses. The houses is the means to fund what it is that we truly are, the vision, the passion, and the mission. So you're doing a lot with networking, sphere of influence. You believe in something bigger than yourself. How important is networking and sphere of influence and community, in your opinion?
Well, when we don't do a lot of marketing with radio and TV, obviously sphere of influence is really important to us. So we have to make a splash and an impact and break through the noise of everything else that's going on. And so we utilize different things that we do. It can be used as somewhat of a PR nationally, but really it comes down to that. What we did is what we did, right? I mean, whatever actually happened, there was a beneficiary of it, and as you were mentioning earlier, as you're saying, hey, want to help these people or do these things in sphere of influence of helping people. But what we try and do is almost help people that can't pay us back, right? And so there's people that there will be some kind of return, but we're not looking for that. If you're helping somebody that can help you, that's business. If you help somebody that can't help you, then that's genuine charity, that you're actually helping somebody. So
I absolutely love. I've never looked at it that way, and that it's proper. That is brilliant. That when you're doing it for the exchange of money, that it is business, right? And when you're doing it something else, that's soul work. I call that soul work. We're doing that for us. We're doing that for our own internal reasons,
Right.
which could lead all the way up,
Well, it
depending on
came
the
from the
person.
Bible, so I can't, I can't steal it. It was from the Bible. I
I
didn't
should
come up
read it. I should read it more, right?
with we all. Didn't we all?
That is great stuff. And there's a lot of great lessons inside of that book.
Mhm.
So, anyways, what are some ways that you grow your network and build? How do you do that? What is the core operation strategy? I guess you guys might have.
Business wise, or do you mean like what we do in the community? Because they
Both.
leave one leads to the other. I just didn't know if you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
both.
business wise,
Open mic for you. Open mic.
okay, so business wise, what we do is we sell something called an area rep. So an area rep is where someone has the rights to royalties from a franchise, right? So they invest in our company that way. Then the next level is someone buys in as a franchise, right? And so they buy a franchise, and we have a virtual real estate franchise. So they don't even have to have brick and mortar. So that's really somewhat taken off. And then from there, the franchisee adds agents, and then those agents add their sphere of influence and the people that are there. And so that's really the hub in each market of where the more agents we attract, the more revenue that's going through the office for people and business and things like that, the more they can impact and do as they do community involvement. So that's all structure there. Then we have certain things that we do that are kind of like pass through. So like in every December, we do usually like an angel tree type thing in each office,
Yeah.
right? Or we'll even take the people and go to the store and buy the toys and different things like that and then go deliver it out. Or we do a Christmas party. And so to get a drink ticket at a Christmas party, you have to bring a toy that we then donate, right? So we're already going to spend the money on the party anyway. We might as well make it where everyone that comes brings a toy. So that way it's almost like we bought the toys, right? For paying for that. They bring something and they find fulfillment in that. So that's just one kind of concept. We have other things where we in November, we usually will do a blanket drive. So again, every location or every office, we call it a location, but a lot of times they'll be virtual, but a good portion of them have, brick and mortar offices. But we will do something where we do a blanket or a coat drive. And so there's homeless in every community. So by building this network, we've allowed for the influence of what we ran locally to run nationally. And so we do that. And again, those people are never paying us back. It's not like they're going to get back. Maybe there's some publicity doing it. We don't really do it in a tooting our own horn or marketing type thing, but we do share it, but only in the idea that we hope people steal our idea. Everything we do, we know can be replicated and stolen. So, we do things like this to share that, but we don't run around and brag about it. Everybody kind of has their own agenda of what they want from our business, right? And so sometimes it's monetary. Some people want to invest. Some people want to be able to sell real estate and make a good amount of money. Like there's any number of reasons that they would inquire about us. And then there's any number of reasons why they find out about the culture, but they don't always find out on the outside because they're not really paying attention. Like they're not looking for that when they're going through their day to day, but then they get involved and they go, oh wow, I didn't know y'all did that. And so that's what we do. We also do in September, August is back to school. So we fund backpacks, fill those with different things, and then we provide those to underprivileged kids. We're very involved with homeless ministry. So we go through there. We've done work in there, feeding them, working together and doing things like that. We also sponsor them economically so they can build out different medical facilities and different things like that. So there's sorry, I was trying to look. I think I wrote down a list of this. We sponsor different churches as they get up and running. So when we're doing it, they've got to have funding. They don't have enough people. There's not enough people to give. And so obviously we find a huge responsibility in our real estate business as it grows to keep giving back in that way and providing that so that they can use that momentum to get the staffing and get the support they need to run that business. We have other things where we've done different drives for like women's shelters. Am I going too much? Is this too much? I don't know if this is value or not.
I'm absolutely loving everything you're saying. I'm
Okay.
falling in love with you. So keep
Yes,
going.
so there's women's shelters, and a lot of times they fall to the wayside because they're going through a hard time or different things like that. So we've had involvement with some of those, and I don't want to make it pie in the sky like we just do an exorbitant amount. I can rattle off a list, but there's 365 days. One of these a month really is just almost feels like not enough. You know what I mean? But we're trying to spread it around and make it a focus. We just did one for kids We sponsored an event that a pro football player put on this past weekend to bring those kids in, let them meet. They got to meet T. Higgins, from the Bengals, and so they did that. I wasn't even there. I had to go somewhere else, but we sponsored that to put the money up to get them to church to put that thing together. And so really the football players donated their time. We just put up a little bit of money to put it together. But it was, I mean, you could just see the smiles on the kids' faces. They just lit up. It really made their day and their time. And so
Worth every penny.
that couple hours. And so it's not saving manatees, but it is still valuable to people in certain things. The person that was doing it just got drafted to the NFL. He didn't know that at the point in time he was going to be, but so he's
Oh, that's
drafted.
great.
But he was doing it because this is the kind of program that led him and inspired him to want to go do that, right? And so if he's able, or somebody else is able to be driven to doing something like that, then they can turn around and give back to the community. So we're trying to build a cycle, of things doing that versus just, hey, they made it and now they're off to the races to doing something else. So.
I just have to say, I know some pretty freaking awesome people. That is all amazing, everything that you're doing. And
that's our squad, though. They all put that stuff together. I can't take credit for it. I'm a part of it, but I mean, really, all that doesn't happen with just me.
No, I know, but it takes a team, man. I truly get that. I truly understand that too, and I don't ever take the credit for all what our partners are doing, and they're doing some fantastic things. But it's amazing that the organization is doing that, and I do believe that two things: that we're put on this earth to improve humanity in some way, shape, or form. We can't do it all, so we do our part, and that's what you're doing. We can't save all the manatees, but you're doing we're doing what we can in the communities that you serve. And also, what good is money if you can't use it for good, right? If you can't use that money to better lives, spend it, right? We can't take it all with us. Most of us have plenty, right? So when we can give back to the underprivileged, when we can give back and give hope, it's really hope. There was a video just recently of this MMA fighter. I don't know where he fought. He was from Arkansas, and I remember he said they asked him about winning, and he said something like, half of my fight purse, $45,000, going to Arkansas Children's Hospital because to help them with whatever, because where they don't have any hope, we'll be their hope. And when you're able to be part of that energy, it's addicting, it's infectious, and I want to say it's selfish, which I learned is a good thing, as long as it's not at the expense of somebody else. Because when you feel that good and you keep wanting it and you keep wanting it, it allows you to do bigger and more things, and you can keep filling those cups up, and it just brings an immense amount of joy and pride. Your agents. What's the culture like there? The feedback from the agents, there must be a certain level of pride to say, I'm not just out there selling homes. That is what we do to fund what we do. Talk to me about the culture of the agents and everything else like that, the feeling and all that.
Well, the exciting part for me is when they kind of take the ball and run with it themselves. I mean, they did a Habitat for Humanity, I think about a year or so ago. They all went out there and did it. I couldn't make it. I had to be at something else. And they just went out and did it. So it really didn't matter and involve us. At the same time, they will see different things. We sponsored a scoreboard at a Norfolk Christian school here. And so we did that, but it was matched by somebody else. And so that funding came in. We took care of the fielding to do that for the athletes, but then that funding then was able to take and fund underprivileged kids coming in to the school because they had the funding for that, right? So they were using the funding for that. They kind of double-edged, and we really look to be really wise about it. I like it. It's the fun part of the game. Like, we succeed in business because we spend a lot of mental energy really focusing on that, right? How do we win? Where do we need to do? What's strategic? How do we allocate time, resources, and things like that? Well, it's the same in anything else. We went into another church, and they ran a college. And what we did is we sponsored the college, and that helped put people through a ministry school. And by putting them through a ministry school, they could run the school to help those people become ministers. But what we got was the marketing side of it. And so they would market us because it wasn't the church, it was the school that actually ran it. So then we marketed it, but the school was ran in the church. So then the marketing of those for the school was then seen by anybody and everybody in the church. And so then they knew we were a Christian organization that way locally as well. And so these are just different ideas and concepts that people could do. and run with. We've also had things where it's been you can give back, and I don't know if you know this, maybe you already did, but you can give back to any nonprofit per transaction. So you can't pay a person per transaction, but you could say for
Mhm.
every transaction we're doing, we're going to give $1,000 to this person, or to this organization or that organization. So they can take advantage of that. There's a part of it that somewhat becomes a marketing thing, but really the marketing part of it is letting the community know that they can work with one of these agents in something that they can pick where they want that money to be able to give it back to, right? And so
Mhm.
they're running on that, because if they were going to do it anyway, they might as well do it with somebody that would be able to give something back. For them, it's business that they may not have had, and at the same time, they got to do two things at one time: give back to the community and support, the person looking to buy or sell.
That's all great stuff. And yeah, you can give to. I remember when I was in full production, we gave back $25,000 to Children's Hospital at Dartmouth because throughout the time that I was working with them, not at one chunk, every time there was a transaction. And I was working with doctors, surgeons, right, relocating to the area, coming out of fellowship or whatnot. And I would donate 10% to the Children's Hospital. And when you get a big fat commission check and it's 1,000, 1,250, $1,500, you're able to make an impact. And I said this to a friend of mine the other day because we're working on a project, and it's a compassion project where it's just to give a hot meal to homeless people, right, randomly and stuff like that. So we're involved with an organization that does that. And I said to my friend, I said, I don't want to be the boots on the ground anymore. I've done a lot of this work myself. I want to be the financier of this project, right? Because if you're boots on the ground, you can do so much. And each level that you go up, you can do more. And what you're doing is kind of like what we're doing. And this is why I love what you're doing is you're empowering. That's the word I'll use, empowering others through either mentorship, leadership, or whatever it might be, to go out there and make a difference, right? To go out there and make a difference. It's not just about the money. It says it right here: impact over income. And you make a big enough impact, you don't have to worry about your income. Everything will just work its way out. Michael Gerber, author of the E Myth, personally told me in 2020, money needs to be a consideration, but it can't be the objective, because if it's the objective, it will never be enough. Right. And he's absolutely right. We deserve to get paid. So I don't want anybody thinking that we're not getting paid. We're getting paid. We're all getting paid. And we need to have the quality of life that we envision for ourselves personally. And then how can we help others? Right. And that's either that's through time, that's through effort. How can we help others through income? My goal is to donate $1 million a year to the charities out there. Right. Ain't happening this year. Hopefully within the next year, we're involved in a project which you might like, is a charitable DAF, donor revised fund, which is all blockchain and crypto based. Right. So we're going to be taking all of the funds that we're donating. It's going to go into that. It's going to grow over time, and we're going to be able to give back even more. But I do believe, as a leader like you, as a leader like I am, it's our job to teach others these ways. And, amazing that you're doing it. Amazing that the agents are taking the ball and running with it themselves. Do you yourself have a particular organization structure set up? Do you have specific charities that you like, or that not that you like, because we like them all, but that you are committed to? Anything else like that? And how did you find them?
There's a lot of different things that I've done over the course of the period of time, but essentially they usually shift and change because their needs change, right? And so
Mhm.
once you get somebody stable or they're operating, obviously they don't like to see somebody pull away from what they're giving, but there's somebody else that's a different level that need a little bit more than they do. And I don't think anyone would ever really look at it that way, but ultimately that's the decision I have to make. And
Mhm.
so I may move from one thing to another based on what it is. I also like to move based on the heart of where everyone else is at, because if nobody else is passionate about it, then we're not going to have the engagement. And if we don't have the engagement, we can't make the impact. So
Yeah. And how did this all come about? I mean, how did this whole 2013? Talk to me about your start. How did it happen?
when we opened up First Class Real Estate,
Yeah.
um, so I was the number one real estate team in Remax, and I had a big Fannie Mae account that was running across the country, and they ended up coming in saying, hey, you're running this as an outsourced company. We only want directs. And so, they closed off those accounts. And I said, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then I'm going to go ahead. There's no reason for me to stay doing what I was kind of in a spin of. I worked my butt off for them day and night because I was east to west coast. So I'd have to be up late at night, working on things. And anyway, all that being said, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that it moved me out of that job and really put us on the trajectory for this. But I said, no one's ever going to take my business again. So they had the keys to do it. The people came in and asked us to go help them. We helped them all get their bonuses and stuff like that. But then somebody else says, hey, we don't like that model. And so I was like, well, how am I supposed to know? So anyway, long story short, I said, we'll set this up. And so now we set this up, and now we're running nationally, same kind of play. We can pass out leads and business to people, nationwide. And that's part of our network, right? So, I'll go put it together. We're going right now. We have a deal going with Zillow that all of our franchisees will get Zillow. So we're working that attrition, if you will, as they open up, then we roll out, and then we go and open offices in areas they need it and so on. But that's a network, right? We take Zillow, we set the network up. We were building this thing with what we're doing now, which I didn't see originally. I know you said, how do you start in that? But that's how we got there. But really, as it expounded in 2019, we've decided we were going to go to the franchise business from the real estate office business. And I was watching Social Network. You ever seen that movie? The Facebook one? And I went, oh my gosh, we could set up a network. We will set up a real estate network. So they're inside it, and we use Facebook for it, right? There'll be groups in there. They talk, they mastermind, they do all these other things, which this happened years ago. This is before a lot of these groups really came around to what they're doing today. But anyway, we did that. We have messenger groups where the franchisees. So there's all the different levels of communication that they pass off ideas, and they synergize with what's working and how they can help. And, they help each other. And it's really just kind of like the rising tide raises all ships. But for me, getting that infrastructure, I could go help one agent, or I could go help all of these people. And so now the leaders are in place, and there's more leaders that come in as we sell more franchises. So now when I go do something like a Zillow, I could have helped one office, but now I can help 100 offices, right? So my impact is larger through the network. And then that way they can run the boots on the ground of driving the office and production, and I can go keep adding in value. So whether that's the technology, we utilize it that way, mass marketing, all of those things are a huge thing that we can set up and do. And so I feel like I get a bigger impact from my results by doing that, and I try and use my leadership position to influence for the positive of different things, and it comes down to where someone's at, right? So you can't talk to somebody today about going and giving when they can't feed their family, right? So right now I got to get them stable, make sure they got a roof and food and so on. And then they can get to a place where unfortunately they want to stay growing on that. So they figured out the model and they want to keep going. And you got to kind of ration them back, because you say, well, that's going to end in unhappiness. How can that be? How can I end in unhappiness? Because I've got more money, and you think the money is going to make you happy, and it doesn't. You got to have some kind of impact. There's got to be lives changed. There's got to be something else going on. And if it's all about you, you're going to miss it, and you're going to wake up a couple years later and go, oh my gosh, what was I doing? So I try and hedge them or stop them. First, I got to get them stable, and then I work on kind of growing them to that. And we even have to use examples. Hey, so-and-so did this or so-and-so did that, because again, it's not pie in the sky. It's not like everyone just says, oh, great, this is great, I want to go do it. There's many variables and layers to all of that. And it takes work and being intentional. As you know.
Being intentional. You're 100% being intentional. That's really it. And listen, I can attest to everything that you just said. That, man, I made a bunch of money. I was an REO agent too, Bank of America, American Home Mortgage, Fannie Mae, right? Had a bunch of accounts. I was making more money than anybody at the time. Well, with the exception of about 7 others in the state at the time. I was in the top 10, and I was just never, the word is fulfilled for me. I was just never fulfilled. I had a whole bunch of money, in my account, I had a whole bunch of money in receivables. I wasn't happy. And in 2016, I decided to walk away. I said, it's not the money. And, went on a spiritual journey. And that's where, we always gave back and everything else like that. But I gave back for the sake of getting back. And I think the key to it all, and what I try to stress to people, is you can't have an expectation, because your disappointment resides in expectation, first of all, right? That's a Buddhist saying from many, many years ago, which I'm not, by the way. They just have a lot of good sayings. Anyways, our disappointment resides in our expectation or in your expectation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was giving, expecting back.
Mm.
And when I wouldn't get anything back, I would get angry.
Ooh.
And anger is, oh man, it's an underlying cause of many issues in our lives. But it wasn't until I went through this soul searching journey, realized it wasn't really money that was making me happy. Changed my things around, changed my mindset around, and started to give back and volunteer some more, make it about other people, not me, not ignoring myself, taking care of myself, but realizing the profound happiness that I had when I saw others win and I helped others
Mhm.
win. And that's where it really took off for me. Um, so
Well, that's a
I
lot
can
of personal
agree.
growth. You went through a lot of personal growth, and once you get to taste that personal growth,
Yeah.
you never want to turn it off. You like, oh my gosh, there's so much more enlightenment that you can
Right.
essentially have in understanding to growing to being a bigger picture. And once you operate
Yeah.
on that cerebral level, there's no more playing in the kiddie field anymore. You're like, all right, I got to go. There's more. There's more and more and more. You know.
Yeah. And like you, we get making an impact in Philly and Portland, around the country in these places that need it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things, a lot of dynamics happening in this world right now that need attention. And it's the forgotten about people that if we can, as we're enriching ourselves, because we are enriching ourselves, we're living better than 90% of the world, right? Everybody who's listening to this podcast, we're living better than at least 80% of the world, right?
Mhm.
We're in the upper echelon, even though there's the elites and everything above us. We're enriching ourselves. We're living the quality of lives that we desire for ourselves and our family. There's nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely healthy. But when we can start to take care of those underprivileged people, or the people who have been through trauma not by their choosing and things, it is powerfully profound when you can make a difference in other people's lives. And when I hear the stories coming back, I get tears in my eyes on some of these things. I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I don't want to say I did it, but I played a small part in it. And wow, I'm so proud of that small part that I was able to play. Right.
Mm-hmm. You
Um,
know, the big struggle and challenge can be, do you help locally or do you help afar? Because I mean, I've been to Nicaragua, I've been to Cochabamba, Bolivia. I've supported in India, and things like that, because they're usually their struggle is even more so than here. And at the same time, it's almost feels like a touch and go. You went in and you did something, you can't make a relationship or a lasting impact there. And so I only say that to say that somebody listening could be like, hey, well, where should we apply our focus, or what should we do? And I think that it gets impressed upon your heart where you should go and when, and it can change and vary. And today it may be afar, and tomorrow it may be home, right? And so
mhm.
I always think of the storyline where people are walking past one person that's in need to run to somebody else, and you're like, well, I mean, might as well help them. You're already there. You're already right there. Let's go ahead and help them too
Yeah.
on your way to the other. That's more efficient, even though there may be some agenda on the other side of helping the other person that is really important too. So I don't know. You'll have it impressed on your heart to make that decision, um, and do that. So.
I had an old team leader who he had a great saying: "Everything works and nothing doesn't." Right?
Hmm.
But your heart, you'll be called, and that's the thing. I think you'll be called, and anything great in life, you're called. And I don't necessarily mean that it could be a universal calling. It could be your God calling you, right? I do believe what we're doing, we were called on a mission, and that's what we're fulfilling. And I do believe that you were as well, because of the similarities and the passions and everything else like that. But I think us as people need to get off of social media a little bit more, read a little bit more, and pray and meditate a little bit more. And you don't ignore the voice when the voice calls you. You will
Hmm.
know. You will be. The difference between right and wrong already. Most of us do, but you will know. You'll feel it. It might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. When it happens, you will know. So, where do we help? Where do we start? I would say anywhere first. what are you passionate about? And I do believe, and I was telling this story to somebody last night. It was 2006. I was sitting at my Remax office in Goffstown, New Hampshire, and a voice came into me and said you need to start a charity to help homeless veterans. And there's a whole long story around why around that, and I'll just say it real quick. I come from a long line of people in the military, right? General, sergeant majors, my sister sergeant major, father and grandfather, both buried in Arlington National Cemetery. But I chose a different path when I was 19 years old and decided to get arrested for marijuana, which isn't even a crime now, which ruined everything going into the military. So it was a certain, I didn't know it then. I know it now. And just recently that it was a regret that I carried. It was a shame that I carried. And
but it was the course correct because it set you on a new course.
It sent me on a course, right? That is going to help and impact people, and not just the veterans. The organizations that we're getting involved in is going to fight human trafficking. They are families in transitions, homeless veterans, and substance abuse, right? I have to just raise money, put it into the DAF, and those things are taken care of. So there's so many different levels. You can go give ramen noodles and hot water and crackers to homeless people. Just do something that you're passionate about. The thing is, start, right? Everything great starts with it starts with an idea first, but then starts with the smallest of action. It starts with the smallest of action. So if all you can do today is take one small, tiny step in the direction of it, be proud, right? Don't be ashamed. Don't be proud that you came up with an idea and you're taking one step in the direction. Food drives, coat drives. You mentioned a whole bunch of these. I got a friend in where is he? He's in Delaware, Wilmington, Delaware. And when he does his pie giveaways, the thing is he collects food. And there's a moving company there that boxes all the food up and they weigh it and then they deliver it to the food shelter. And I think last year they raised 2,500 pounds of food or something crazy, right? That's a good cause. Right, you do, as long as you're doing something positive and giving back, I think is the key. It doesn't have to be grand. It doesn't have to be magnificent. Sometimes the smallest of things make the biggest of impacts.
You know, you're saying this reminding me of something. Sorry, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna go ahead. I was gonna say, Mike's yours, and I love this conversation.
Made me think of something. So, have you read like Pink Goldfish or Red Goldfish?
I have not.
Oh man, I can't remember which one it is. See the pink or red. I remember I read both of them, but they're about marketing. But the key is this was really an aha moment for me. The average person thinks that whatever you do for charity, that's kind of for the nonprofits that they do, and they do that, right? And if you do for profit, you run a for-profit company. But the world's changing. And the world is changing so much that for-profit companies are doing nonprofit, and they call it a blurred line. You can't tell when a for-profit company starts doing so much charity and so much for the community because they're now generating their own revenue that they can go back and go and do that. The for-profit or nonprofit spends so much time trying to chase down revenue and money and people to go run their mission of what they're doing. And so, like, you think of like Tom's Shoes. You've heard of them?
Yeah.
For-profit company. But every time you do, they go give a pair of shoes, right? And so that now it's not now a blurred line because they're in the nonprofit, right? And so all of these things I'm talking about were for that blurred line that we would try and make it where we would run it that you wouldn't even know we're a for-profit company because we're doing all those. We are. I mean, you generally would know that a real estate company is a for-profit company, but it's just we try and be intentional about doing that. And so I say that to encourage people that are running for-profit companies to drive for their nonprofit side, right? Don't just think it's for the nonprofits. You don't have to open up a separate 501c3 or any of that other stuff to go do it. You know, you can, but it's a whole other operation and organization and structure that you've got to go do. There's nothing, I'm not for it or against it. I'm just saying it's just different. And so because of this blurred line, you can really run both of them and you don't want it to be where you're stuck in this spot of not doing something good because you're at a for-profit company.
Yeah, for sure. So, and that's great understanding for everybody to pick up on, right? Is in some cases, making money is helping to drive the charitable aspect, the giving back aspect, and I think that's brilliant. And that's the path that we're headed to, right? That's where exactly we want to be. We want to make so much money that we have so much that we can give it away, right?
Mhm.
We're all gonna live our lives and be taken care of, yes, and but be able to give it back. I think is
I
powerful.
had a coach one time. He coached with me, and or he helped me a ton. I mean, this guy's a genius. I'm pretty sure he's in the B status. But anyway, either way, he was coaching with me, and he said, "All right, well, if you're going to finish, keep coaching with me," he said, "I need you to pay X amount of money a month to this church." And he didn't want the money. He wanted me to have skin in the game, so I would listen, but he didn't want to do it for the money. So he had
Right.
me give the money away to another organization so that I would do it. And he said, "Now I'm involved in that organization, so I will know, if you do it or if you don't." He said, "But obviously we want to be on the honor system, and if you're going to do it, then I want you to do it, kind of thing." And we did, and we invested in that and did it. But now you kind of kill two birds with one stone. So now you had coaching that helped your business grow, and you were supporting something, in the community. And so I say that because it's just another idea, right? Maybe it's you, maybe somebody else comes up and says, "Yeah, I'll help you on a weekly, monthly basis." And he did more. It wasn't rigorous or rigid to the idea that, okay, we're only going to talk once a month, or once a week or whatever it was. It was, I text him, "Hey, I got an idea, blah blah blah." He said, "Yeah, yeah, I'll help you X, Y, and Z." So you have that relationship, that friendship, plus it's the giving, and then it was like doing more than was bargained for. Again, he was already doing it for free, but then it
Right.
was really time consuming in doing that. But that's just because of a relationship, right? I mean, if you have a relationship
Mhm.
with somebody, so you're buying that relationship by giving money away, and that value has a return. But again, it wasn't. I mean, that was more of a trade off of what it was, but he wasn't doing it for something in gain. And so in my case, it changed it around. So anyway, you get the
Yeah.
idea. I'm just throwing the ideas out there so people can take these, steal them, go run with them. If they're good ideas and they help the community and they help other people and it can help you grow, the only thing that's going to stop you is whether you do it. You mentioned you got to create the idea. You got to create it twice, first in your mind and then in real life. But you can start working on these ideas and these things, whether it's for your for-profit business or it's for your nonprofit or whatever you're going to do in the community. But you got 168 hours every week to come up with those ideas and make the biggest impact and the biggest splash you can in both of those. Don't give up one for the other. So you can do both. Run at a higher capacity. Come up with creative ideas, and you'll get more fulfillment and value out of life from that.
All right, I'm fired up, man. I could talk to you all day about this stuff because it's awesome stuff, and it is right where my heart is too. I mean, I'm 50 years old. I've accomplished a lot of things, and now it's time to give it all back, right? And it's absolutely awesome. How does somebody find out? We're winding down here. Got a couple minutes left, but how does somebody find your company or more about what you do? What's the contact information?
We had the website firstclassrealestate.com. So it's number one, firstclassrealestate.com. So they can go on there. They can find out where we're at, our locations, what we do, what we offer, all of those things. They can get through to me if they needed something from me. I'm on Facebook as well. I think I'm at a limit, but I can get messages on there. So and so that's pretty much it. So yeah,
Cool. You can always follow them, right? If you're at your friends limit, you can always follow them.
yeah.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate the good work that you're doing out there and your entire organization is doing out there. It's making an impact. And that's what we want to do is tell stories about people who are making impact
Mhm.
over income. Anybody, if you're listening to this, you want to have more conversations like this or be inspired about giving back, networking, sphere of influence, video and social, which I think are very critical to tell the story because you can tell other people's story through video and social media. And that's what Explore My Town's all about. But join our group. We don't promote Explore My Town in there. We just talk to great people. That's the real estate community leaders group. If you go to facebook.com/group/community leaders, it'll bring you right to the group. So come in, join, ghost the conversations if you want. Just learn because I don't hold anything back. And I don't think Ryan's holding anything back. We want you to copy us. I'm not afraid of giving you all of the answers because I know that most people won't do it. But we're giving you all the answers so when you finally do decide to do it, you can make an impact because it is about impact over income. Ryan, final words, a piece of advice for an agent or broker that is struggling or wants to get involved in some sort of community give back program, something like that. What would you give them for a piece of advice right now?
Do you know the average time someone tries something before they give up?
Twice.
Zero. They talk themselves out of it before they do it. Things don't get implemented. You don't even try. You don't even know that you could have done a good job or done something more. Instead, you didn't even try. You talked yourself out of going and doing it because you didn't have time, whatever excuse that you made to not do it, whether that was for profit, nonprofit, impacting the community, helping your family, your church, any of those other things. You didn't even reach out to the person that would have helped you because you thought they were too busy, because you thought that they didn't have time for you. Whatever reason, you will not do it because the average time is zero. Break that average. If you can break that average, it will change your life. And you've got to have the fortitude to go after it, go do it, give it a try. Don't be afraid to fail. That's okay. If you try and fail, it's better. What is it Jordan said? We had a poster hanging in our office at one point in time. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
100%.
go after it, take the shot, go do it. Don't be afraid of what somebody else. Your confidence has to be there. I posted something on social media today, and somebody said, "Oh, but you missed X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C." And I was like, "Yeah, but they don't even know A, B, and C. So if I don't tell them this, we're never going to get to this other stuff of X, Y, and Z." You know, they just wanted to kind of toot their own horn. But I'm not afraid of them. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to keep telling and doing what I'm doing to try and help people, and I'm not going to shy away because you're going to have people coming at one side or the other. So anyway, don't talk yourself out of it. Go after it.
Yeah, man, that reminds me of something that I heard years ago, that the graveyard is the wealthiest place with ideas because they all went to the grave with these people and they never implemented them. So awesome advice. Just get into action. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Ryan, thank you for your time. Y'all check out First Class Real Estate. They're a class act. Thank you all. Peace out.